can literally think of the African American community, the Black American community, as if we're talking about a colonized African country that rather than being invaded from without by colonizers, it was amputated from Africa and brought over to where the colonizers are. You know, it's a colonized African country inside of America. Just put that in your mind. Don't think of the African American community as just a collection of consumers within the United States, but think of it as a sovereign economic force, as a nation with its own global trade relationships. Like I said, if we took African Americans as a separate economy, it would be worth over $1.6 trillion in consumer spending, 1.8. That's larger than most countries. But the question is, are you just a market to be exploited? Or will you assert your own interests in global trade? See, this is exactly one of the issues that colonized countries have always had to struggle with, controlling their own trade relationships. Look, the only reason that countries like China or India or Japan or South Korea sell as much as they do in the United States is because of you. Your spending power fuels entire industries, yet you have no direct relationship with the nations that you trade with. Instead, your role is reduced to being passive consumers, while corporate middlemen dictate the terms of trade on your behalf, but not in your interests. Why are you allowing yourselves to be a colony when you should be a nation? I'm saying take direct control of your global trade. Ask yourself this: if African Americans had a sovereign economy, would you let foreign nations extract your wealth without negotiating fair terms? You know, would you allow others to speak for you in trade deals? Or would you send your own trade ambassadors to China, your own trade ambassadors to India, or to Africa, or to Europe, to negotiate on your own behalf? You know, China is your biggest supplier. That's your biggest trade partner, a foreign trade partner. African American spending drives massive imports from China. Clothing, electronics, beauty products, appliances, on and on and on. Without your consumption, many of these industries would collapse. That's just a fact. So why are you not negotiating with China directly? Why don't you have African American trade delegations meeting with Chinese business leaders? I mean, maybe you do, I don't know. I haven't been there for a long time. But you need direct relationships, business partnerships. Bypass the American corporate middlemen who mark up the prices and control the supply chains and so on. You don't need to go through them. If African Americans had their own independent economic councils, they could establish direct trade relationships. They could cut the costs. They could increase ownership. They could ensure fair treatment and so forth. You see what I'm saying? Establish direct ties. The second largest foreign trading partner of the African American community is India. You know, the hair and beauty industry especially. African Americans spend between roughly $1.2 billion annually on hair products, hair and beauty products, which a significant portion of that comes from India. But why aren't you negotiating with Indian suppliers on as equal trading partners? You know, do you have African American trade ambassadors in India securing direct sourcing agreements? Why allow multinational corporations to be the gatekeepers when you're the ones who are sustaining this industry? You see what I'm saying? If you control the flow of capital, you control the industry that relies on that capital. You should be setting the terms, not just being a customer. Because look, you know, I know we always act like being a consumer is exclusively a weak position, but it doesn't have to be passive. It doesn't have to be like that. There's no business without consumers. Consumers have power. You know, even the European Union, do you know that you keep the African American community keeps the luxury industry alive? African Americans spend billions of dollars on European brands. Gucci, Louis Vuitton, you know, Balenciaga, what have you. What if instead of just buying, you demanded equity in these companies? What if you had a stake in the very industries that you support with your consumption? I mean, you can negotiate. You have leverage. You have the power of your spending. Use it. And okay, if you think of African Americans as a country unto themselves, then obviously your biggest trading partner of all is the United States itself. African Americans, like all Americans, spend the bulk of their income on housing, on healthcare, on education, entertainment, and all of that is controlled by American corporations. All of your money is going to American corporations, most of it. But right now you don't negotiate your role in the economy. You just accept whatever's given to you. But why should African Americans or any other minority so-called group allow their wealth to just be extracted without any reinvestment? You know, this is a dimension of corporate democratization. You're not just workers or consumers in this system. You are the foundation of wealth for entire industries. So you should be negotiating like a sovereign entity. Become a nation within a nation. And that's for all so-called minority groups in America. Economic sovereignty doesn't mean that you're isolating your community economically. It just means control. It means that before a single dollar leaves your community, it circles within your community. It means that you dictate the terms of your trade relationships, not corporations that just exploit your spending. This is what every nation does, unless it's colonized. So now the question is, are you going to continue playing the role of a colony, or are you going to take your place as a sovereign economic power within the United States? Because until you do, you will remain what you have always been in America, just a resource to be extracted, not a force to be reckoned with.
You know, the Jewish community, it turns over somewhere between 18 and 19 times before it leaves their community. In the Asian community, it turns about 8 to 10 times. You know how long it takes for a dollar to leave our community? About 6 hours, 6 to 9 hours. We go, we cash our check, we pay our bills at a check cashing place. They take money, we buy a little food, and then we take our kids to the Nike store. And that's the rest of our money. How do we change that mentality? I think in large measure we do it by creating more of our businesses so that there are more opportunities for our folks to do business with each other. Rich people scream, but wealthy people whisper. The value of being more wealthy than rich. We see our brothers and sisters who've made it in certain industries. Of course, they only put us in certain industries to make big money, as long as we're entertaining white folks. You know, at that point, you could be bling bling all day long. And I've seen too many people with bling in their ears, their nose, around their toes that don't have 25 cents in their pocket. You know, we have to understand the value of sustainable wealth, generational. When we're born, we start at zero. When they're born, they're at about 60% already. I was driving around just the other day and somebody said, man, look, all these folks in cars, all this traffic, and look at all these buildings. Who owns that? And how did they get it? After we gave them over 400 years of free labor, they made enough money to build Wall Street, to build the industrial complex, and it all came off of free slave labor out of the South. Now, unfortunately, our mentality continues to allow us to be nothing much more than a slave. And you might have a big corporate job, but guess what? You're only a paycheck away from poverty. But you know, I mention Africa a lot because the origin of the human comes from Africa. At least that's the oldest known Homo sapien. Our DNA mutated, it changed, it did a lot of things, but it's still a core base of DNA. If you're religious, you can presume that the origin that created you was God, and therefore God's DNA is within you. And if that's the case, that means your spirituality comes from within and not some cloud out here. We all have dreams, right? And what is the first thing we have to do if we have a dream? We got to wake up. And then we have to sit up, and then we have to stand up.
We're not poor, we're just broke. Our money goes in one direction, away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. We are a $1.1 trillion annual economy. If we were a nation, we would be the 16th richest nation in the entire world. But again, our money goes in one direction, away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. And we will not stop buying from people who will not support us. We are addicted to consumption. We do not produce anything that we buy, and we do not sell anything that we purchase. We just consume. There was an interesting article on the front page of USA Today, and here's what this article said about Negroes in America. The black baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people, Mr. Hill, in this country, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. We collectively need our asses kicked. And you can count me out of that. I will not contribute to that egregious statistic. And neither must you.
70% of the largest economy in the world is consumer spending. 70% of Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, if somebody's not black looking at this, listening to this, I want them to pay attention now. Half of those making $100,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. A quarter of those making $250,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. If you're living in Manhattan, the city we're in right now, and you make $100,000 a year, it feels like $39,000 a year. Now, if somebody white listening to this or watching this right now, they'd say amen. That's not a black amen, not a Latino amen, or an Asian amen, or even a white amen. It's a green amen. It's just green amen. So I think that all the pieces are just sort of coming together. Ambassador Young would say coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
And without money, all you have is a good damn intention. But you will not get anything done in America without money. At the end of the day, when we finish pontificating ad nauseum about our issues, somebody's got to write a check. Our Jewish brothers and sisters can write a check. Our Asian brothers and sisters can write a check. Our East Indian brothers and sisters who control the hotel-motel industry in America in the last 30 years without your permission, or Jesse's permission, or Al Sharpton's permission, can write a check. Our Arab brothers and sisters, and I was in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, can write a check. Oh, they can write serious checks. Serious checks. If you've ever been to Abu Dhabi or Dubai, it's stupid money. Just like stupid money. We can't write a check. And therein lies, at the core, in spite of the fact that we're a $1.1 trillion annual economy, that's what we are. If we were a nation, we would be the 16th richest nation in the entire world. But our money goes in one direction away from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. We've taken the art of consumption to a whole new level. We do not produce anything that we buy, and we do not sell anything that we purchase. We are the consumption machines of America. And when you're consuming and not producing, at the end of the day, you can't write a check. You cannot finance your own revolution. You cannot use money to assuage the deeper issues within the context of our own community. We must fix this in the 21st century. We were born to network, that we were born to work with and through each other, that we were born to collaborate. But we have not learned this lesson. Because God has given us everything we need to succeed. We have everything we need to succeed in this great country except each other. Jews have each other. Asians have each other. East Indians have each other. Arabs have each other. We don't have each other. We have every single thing we need except each other. $1.1 trillion annual economy. 16th richest nation in the entire world. You could take the overwhelming majority of countries in sub-Saharan Africa, combine their gross domestic product, and it would not equal the $1.1 trillion that we bring to the table in a single year. We have brain power. We're brilliant people. Most of us have forgotten who they really are, but we are brilliant. We have surpassed W.E.B. Du Bois' dream. Remember his 90-year-old dream of the talented 10? His dream was if at least 10% of black people could get the finest education possible, he meant a college education. They would then get that education, they would then come back to their community, they would reinvest in their community, and that 10% alone would uplift the entire race. That was Du Bois' dream. We've surpassed that dream. 18% of black folks in America have at least a 4-year college degree or better. So let me say that another way. We have a lot of PhDs in our community. We now need some PhDs, right? We need some PhDs. So we're brilliant people. And here's an interesting statistic you don't hear very often. 60% of the black workforce, nearly 9 million of us, are in executive, managerial, supervisory, professional, specialty, vocational, technical, administrative, sales, and business ownership positions. That is an army of potential role models and mentors to help those who are stuck in the cycle of poverty. In fact, there is no army in the entire world larger than the army of black people that have succeeded in this country. So make no mistake about it, success runs in our race. But the question is, what are we doing with this? What is the state of mind of black America? If Dr. King were to come back here today, 50 years after his death, he would be ecstatic that Barack Hussein Obama is president. He predicted it. He predicted there would be a black president within 40 years. But he would be angry with black people about every single thing else. He would just simply look at black people and say, is this what I took a bullet for? Is this what I took? We're at the bottom of every single statistic that matters in America. And we came over here on the Mayflower. For the 35th year in a row, we're at the bottom of the SAT scores. For the 35th year in a row, Asians are now at the top. They have replaced white males and white females. And I don't even want to get into the statistics. You know what the statistics are. And we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. There was an interesting article on the front page of USA Today not long ago. I hope you saw it. It was on the front page below the fold. It was about black people and their money. Baby boomers, my generation. The most read newspaper in the United States, USA Today, about black people and their money. Here's what they said. They said that baby boomers, black baby boomers, will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. So A, we need our asses kicked. B, you can count me out of that. I will not be a part of that equation. And you must not be a part of that equation. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We cannot allow that to happen on our watch. It's never happened in the history of Africans in America except for us. So as the brothers in the hood would say, what's up with that? That's insanity. We are a magnificent and beautiful people, but most of us have forgotten who they really are.
You don't think to consume first, right? Because African Americans in the United States are some of the largest consumers, even though we only make up 13% of the population. A lot of immigrants, it doesn't matter where you come from a collectivist culture first. America is so unique because black people in America are the only people in the world born into capitalism. Other people come from some collectivist culture, some socialist culture, and they get to reap the benefits of capitalism from the inside out. Whereas we're unique because we're born in it. It was shaped around us. When you have this opportunity to see America from the outside in, I'll give you the example. My mother's side of the family be like, oh, why so many of your father's people will get a studio apartment, be 6 of them living in there? I say, well, they come from a collectivist culture. Within 5 to 10 years, they'll probably all be homeowners. The same negative stereotypes would apply on my mother's side of the family from my father's side. Oh, why have black people been in America for so long, but their situation hasn't changed much? It's like, well, capitalism, slavery. We were born inside a system that perpetuated it and keeps people down. You reap the benefits from coming into it, but being born into it, you don't get to reap the benefits from it necessarily as easily. The impact it had on me was empathy. It taught me how to explain things to people who don't have a profound understanding of it. And that led into my music, where sometimes it felt like a burden to have to explain things to people who don't come from different cultures, because I was born into 2 cultures. So I was constantly explaining to my mom beliefs in Islam, what it means to be an immigrant and what it means to come from Africa. And I was constantly explaining to my father and my father's people Christianity in the West and what it means to be black American, what it means to be born in a system of white supremacy, the effects of that, and trying to create empathy and understanding understanding that definitely affected who I am. It affected how I write. It affected the music that I make. It affects how I move through the world.
Right now, do you know we brought in $1.3 trillion last year as a people? Out of 226 nations on the earth, that makes black people in America the 8th richest nation. We brought in $600 billion more than Spain, $700 billion more than Mexico. Yet Spain has 46 million people like we do, and they maintain a 208,000 square mile landmass, and they have their own everything. Mexico has 131,700,000 people, and they're maintaining 771,500 square miles with half the money we have. Yet they have whole countries, and we don't have nothing we can call our own. Something happened to us. We got to get back into what they call today financial literacy, but we got to do it quick because we got to start doing something for ourselves. We got the dollars. We just need some more sense to go with
all those effects. Black community will consume at one of the highest rates. We consume everything. Some of the stuff that's in our community that we consume, a good large chunk of it is not even stuff we actually need to be consuming, but we consume it. And if it's not us doing, supplying, helping the supply and demand with Asian hair, beauty stores and stuff like that, if it's not us helping the rent and roll people with their stuff, and Rent-A-Center particularly. I don't know if anybody knew, but they've started doing this right here. Yeah, you saw that right. They rent Jordans. And this was years ago when I saw this. Supply and demand. Just think about that. How much money do we actually waste that we can't get policies enacted to benefit our community by the people who aren't even in our community, but we can consume in every aspect of everybody else's community, enrich them. They'll set up policies for their businesses, etc., and they'll use the tax dollars on everything that we've consumed to make policies that go against our community. Let that sink in.
Black people are the biggest consumers in this world. Black people push the money in America. You take the black money out of America, it'll collapse.
Like, wow, this is crazy. And we don't own any of that.
Don't own nothing. Even all these hair stores that's opening up, black people don't own none of this. You're making billions in India off hair. We're buying, this hair is coming off little girls' hair, cutting their hair. That's $1 billion. Black people turn hair into $1 billion industry. God blessed us with beautiful hair. How come we not wearing our own hair?
So welcome back, and I appreciate for watching this far and for the support that you continue to give this channel by liking, commenting, and sharing our videos, right? Because this is exactly what Dr. George Fraser, Professor SHAHID BOLSEN, and these decorated brothers are talking about in this video, and that is having each other and supporting the community, right? Because they are not doing a small talk, but rather they are making a clarion call and a waking alert message to the community to realize the power they hold. Because without a doubt, we, the black community, the people of color, hold the consumer power. And in this capitalistic economic system, money is power, right? And as we've just been reminded that we form the majority of the consumer population, it means that we got the money, right? And they know this, right? By they, I mean the elites and the billionaires who own big corporations and big companies, and who for the longest time have tried to manipulate us to make us feel like the minority. But across all the nations of the world, across all continents, we the people of color are the majority, right? We are not of the minority group as they claim us to be, right? And this demonstrates that they are scared of who we can become, right? Of who we can become after realizing that we got the power, right? After realizing that we can own our future and control the narrative. They are scared that they'll be treated like the minority group as they are treating us. They are scared of losing the power to the people of color, right? They are scared of the future that is imminent. Because I say, when you see decorated men and scholars like Dr. Fraser and Professor SHAHID BOLSEN coming out and speaking the truth, right? You realize that these are just but signs, right? A sign of something great that is going to happen to the people of color. A sign that the powers that be are truly shaking and losing their grip on the narrative. So the message here is very clear. Instead of funding their luxurious life and giving our dollars to them, right, of which we know that they will not give back to the community, because that is what they've been doing for the last years, right? Rather, they've been building their own families, they've been building their own communities while leaving the communities and neighborhoods of the people of color being impoverished and underdeveloped. So instead of making them more rich and increasing the wealth gap between the elites, right, and the people of color, we need to pull our collective efforts, right, our collective resources and our collective consumer power to the black-owned businesses, right, to the black-owned institutions, to the black-owned ventures. Because only we are our saviors, right? Only we can fund our schools. Only we can ensure that nobody in the community sleeps hungry, right? Nobody in the community doesn't get enough medical attention simply because they don't have money. So today, I don't want to talk a lot as I always do, but I want us to shift our conversation down to the comment where you family share your thoughts on what you think is the way forward to ensure that we own our voice, to ensure that we own our future, the future of our kids, right? To ensure that we create wealth and build more wealth for our community. Share your thoughts in the comments below and let's have an engaging conversation. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share this video to anybody that loves the truth. Until next time, stay tuned to the Nick Report and I'll see you in the next video.